Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Season 4, Episode 2 of Barry. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with Gene's side of things, which I love that the reporter, the person from Vanity Fair that he's trying to get to tell his Barry Berkman story, he has his very cloak and dagger, I left a note here. And it's just I guess with the contents of just what it's all about, he must have figured, well, there's only one person that would kind of be trying to sell this story from this perspective. It has to be one of the two people involved. If Janice's dad wants nothing to do with it, it has to be Gene, because he probably knows Gene's reputation enough to be, like I said last episode, he's kind of a media whore, so it's probably a thing of it probably didn't take that long. So I love he just strolls up while Gene's in the process of setting up the second note. He still hadn't done it yet. I thought you would have already had that set up, but you're doing them one at a time. You dropped it off at his place, now you're setting up the second one, but it's he's Gene Cousineau? He's like, whoa, how'd you get here so fast? He's like, you want to go outside? I told him, he's like, do you have a rocket or something? It's like, all right, here. Gave him, I think, what was going to be the third note. Here's the address. Meet me there. And he's just because it screwed up his whole cloak and dagger. Because he also is paranoid because the last person he wants to know about this is Janice's dad. Jim, because Jim's a very, very scary guy, and Jim made a whole point about not wanting his daughter's story to be turned into what Gene's kind of turning it into. So the reporter dude, he shows up, and Gene puts on his performance, and he puts his little spin to it, obviously. His introduction to Barry, the situation where last season where Barry was like, I love you, Mr. Cousineau. He's like, I love you too. And it's that whole thing, and twisting things to make himself seem even better, but the guy's writing it up, he's enjoying, he's like, oh my god, this is amazing. But you also kind of don't know. I mean, that's the thing. He might have wrote everything down, but even then, I was I don't know if that all puts you in the positive light that you think it does, Gene. But also, he's right, this would be confidential, right? I don't want anyone to know, because he was I need to be out of this. I need to be out of the light. I don't want to be in the main stage in the starlight. And I don't want the lights on me. But I'm gonna tell this story only to you one time. It's shut up, because you know it's going in a big I was they're magazines, but obviously, Vanity Fair. You're getting a big publication is the word I was looking for. Vanity Fair. So, but for one, you don't know how they could get chopped and screwed, word-wise, when the article comes out. But also, Jim's going to know you talked. It's intimate details that literally no one else would know but you. Who would know about these intimate conversations you had with Barry except for you? Jim's not going to be happy. So even if the article turns out verbatim what Gene said it was, I don't know. I still think he's going to come off looking not the way he thought he was going to. So it was interesting too, because let's kind of tack on the Sally of things. First and foremost, Sally actually, when she went to go see Barry, I was dumb. I was oh, it's going to be Hank. We know Hank is here for Barry, so I thought he was coming to visit Barry or something. No, I was so surprised when it was Sally. And because for Sally, it's yeah, you've done these terrible things. But for Barry, it's I recognize I am a garbage human being, but the fact of the matter is you made me feel better. You made me feel like I actually was a human just by you being you. And Sally's right, you made me feel safe too. He's well, you say that again? Say that again. And she didn't. And he is no, say it. I make you feel safe. I will make you, I promise you I'll make you feel safe. And and once again, it's they're codependent in their own regards. They get, I brought it up last episode, they get something from each other. They're filling a void inside of themselves. Obviously, her mom tried to throw it in her face last episode, saying she has an interesting track record with SOs, whether it be Sam and now Barry. And for her, it's just kind of she almost kind of was wait, what am I doing? Why am I saying that? Because I think for her, she finds herself kind of almost, because she realizes the kind of Stockholm syndrome of I get mixed up with some very, very bad people. First Sam and now Barry. I'm getting, this is the kind of men I'm kind of falling for. I need to kind of break that. And I think she was I'm falling back into this pattern. I can't be associated with. Her first and foremost matter was concerned about, hey, Muffin. He was like, wait, who's Muffin? She's like, my dog. I actually take care of. He's like, don't worry about it. That's not going to be an issue. That was her first and foremost concern, because Barry going down means he could tell them about what Sally did. But, I mean, this could always shift, but currently he loves Sally. There's no way he'd ever betray her, because, like, he loves her alive. So, but the moment that trust is destroyed, it's up for grabs. But right now, Barry's, like, hopped up on his fantasy of, like, yeah, I'm going to run away with, Sarah, I was about to call her Sarah. Sally, because Sarah's the actress's name. It's Sarah Goldberg, right? But yeah, like, it's him and Sally. Like, he saw, like, them marry together. Once again, he's hopped up on this fantasy. I mean, truth be told, this entire series has been about his fantasy of getting away from his life. And he's always chasing that next fantasy, that next dream. And I guess Sally's always been a part of that picture. She's always been that for him, that fixture, that foundation, and he's trying to hold on to it because he feels like, whoa, she needs me. She said it. I don't have to worry about it. I mean, obviously Barry has that very obsessive mentality. So Sally goes to talk to Lindsay about, like, hey, what's my job stuff like? Hey, I know you don't have to work for me because you said some stuff that wasn't all true. I still love that she implied, like, oh, but some of the stuff I yelled at you about is true. But it's like, yeah, just like give me a small agent. The fact of the matter is, I could you refer me to a small agent. I could do like waitress number 2 or something. But it's like, no, you're nuclear waste right now. Like you're nuclear and no one wants to touch you, because do you know what the news, what people are calling you? It's not even just social media. Mainstream outlets are picking up now. You're the C word lady, and you were the girlfriend to a serial killer. There's pictures of you. They're pulling off your Facebook page together. It's like your reputation is tarnished. There's no like easy way of like being in his business anymore, because it's like, yeah, you're not even Sally anymore. You're the C girl, because of like the whole, I figured the Natalie thing would come up. I brought it up saying, like, during Barry's court case, if they try to use Sally to testify against him, they could probably like destroy her credibility with that. But it's more so like, yeah, it's kind of destroyed her career. I mean, we kind of already knew that last season, that pretty much destroyed her career. But now, like, the Barry was like the final stake in it. But she does bring up, like, yo, you could do a reality TV show, you could do a podcast, you would make more money than God. It's like, your story is a story that you could really milk the hell out of and make a lot off of. But she also says, like, you do have integrity, because she is an artist. So it's like, I don't think you'd want to leap at that. So that's kind of the complicated situation Sally finds herself in. But when she heard Gene's, like, story about Barry, it's like, wait, well, you knew about what he was and you didn't say anything. He's like, yeah, he kidnapped me, threatened my family. But it's like, yeah, but I was in a relationship with him. I was living with him. He was like, yet you were that close to him and you never saw any signs. And she's like, no, come on. The fact is, we both knew Barry was kind of jacked up, but we didn't care because he was obsessed with us. He basically put us both on a pedestal, and being the actors that we are, we sucked that up like someone loving us like that. So, and Jean's also explaining the reason why you're here is because this is home. She couldn't actually go home. She left home because that was too much. Because I don't even know if we can honestly say whether she really gave it an honest try or not. I mean, what little we got last episode, it wasn't the best conducive place to be in for her, considering everything she's going through. Her mom's not really being supportive. Her dad's trying to be, but it's like, yeah, I can't be here, because she thought she kind of escape all of it, but now she's worried about what if the Barry stuff comes blowing up my life, but it's not going to, but it's still a concern. And Jean's even saying, like, right, you came back here because, someone in her position can teach. So she's going to kind of end up, I guess, maybe by the end of the series, she might end up being, like, the new Jean. We'll see how things kind of go on that front. In prison, we have... Side note, those, like, prison transitions are so interesting, especially, like, when it was, like, a young Barry and Fuchs, when his dad was introducing him to Fuchs, and then another time it's just Fuchs and Barry, and then, like, there's a wedding party, and then, like, the wedding party comes towards the cell, because it's out in the desert, but then it comes towards the cell and transitions into, like, a wedding, like, venue of sorts. I was like, oh, that was a beautiful transition. Once again, I can sometimes become, like, a cinematography nerd about, like, oh, those transitions are so dope. I could get like nerdy about stuff like that, but I'm not the technical nerd about a lot of filming, but I can nerd out about it from time to time, specifically cinematography. and transitions and stuff like that. I always love a really stylized and really sleek and like smooth transition like that. But either way, putting all that aside, Barry's looking back on like the stuff with Fuchs and being like kind of happy about it. So Fuchs is kind of like, hey, trying to rally the troops. It's like, oh, talk to that guy Jason. He's like, I know your new name's Livewire. Talk to the other guy. It's like, I don't like, dude, I don't like nicknames. Let us watch TV. Is that Yellowstone in the background? I saw Kevin Costner. I just assumed Yellowstone. Oh, you know, which I'm once again the rights and stuff like that. I'm like, well, this is a HBO show. I'm like, did you have to pay for the rights to play? I mean, sure, you had to pay for like, because that's a Paramount Plus show. So it's like, once again, I always get so caught up in like once again the technicalities of stuff like that. But either way, I love that the guy was like, I don't like nicknames. He's like, fine, you'll be, he was going to name him something else, but he was like, fine, you'll be Jason. And Jason's like, Jason's my name. He's like, no, he's Jason. You're Livewire. And it's like, yeah, like, this is going to be our crew. Also, that's Barry Berkman over there. I'm sure some of you saw him on TV. He's a top-class assassin. And it's like, oh, man, I love Barry. Be like, yeah, you did a great job learning him. And it's like, yeah, you didn't seem too forceful. You seem natural. It's like, hey, you haven't even taken any acting classes, and you did a really good job. He's like, yeah, but what about the names? Yeah, they were good. They were good. And then Fuchs had told Barry about his deal with the FBI. He was like, yeah, they were trying to get me to turn on you, which I'm like, you did that. Even they were like, wait, what are you talking about? You came to us. You guys were all... He's like, oh, you turned us against each other. It's like, you guys were already having a friend fight before we got involved. You just made, you're shifting it. But it's like, now I got a lawyer on my side. And yeah, this is how this is going to be handled. I'm going to look after me and Barry, because it's like, yeah, I got to make up, got to do right by that kid finally. But then the moment Barry heard about Fuchs' deal, I was like, Barry's going to think about it. Wasn't expecting it to be this very episode that he jumped on it, but he's jumped on it immediately. And I was like, yeah, I have ties to the Chechens, the Bolivians. I'm tied to an international network of criminals. I can get you all of them. I need a fresh start, and can I take someone with me? So he wants to start a new life with Sally, not even asking if Sally would want that. She wouldn't, but I mean, I think Sally's in the middle of figuring stuff out. So that's probably all going to end up coinciding with her starting her teaching career. And she's probably, and obviously she wants her distance from Barry, but she's also trying not to like piss Barry off because of who he is. So that's going to be a whole complicated thing, I'm sure. But yeah, Fuchs was not happy when he found out about Barry. I also love that we met the lawyer, played by, I think as Matt Servito, I want to say. I always see him pop up and stuff. I always think of, oh God, what's his character name from Banshee? I'm blanking on his character's name from Banshee, but that was kind of, I want to say, one of like the earliest things I ever saw him in, maybe. Either way, I love that he's like kind of telling like Fuchs about who he is. It's like, how I'm able to basically, he's like, yeah, I have like Barry was recorded by Gene about killing Janice. It's like, well, I have a tech guy, a recording guy that will come in, record me saying some random stuff, and then edit it to make me sound like, oh, I said something crazy. So it's like, yeah, we'll be able to take care of that. He even brings up like, yeah, this guy shot something. I basically brought in my deep fake guy to put my face on the shooter. It's like, oh, and then I was like, oh, I must be the shooter now. And then I put my hands behind me like I was about to get arrested. It's like, oh yeah, it worked like crazy. And it's like, I was like, but did the guy actually do it? And then just the guy pauses for a second. So I was like, yeah, he did. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's like, I'm that type of lawyer. I'm on my Saul Goodman. I'm in my Saul Goodman bag type of situation. So, before we continue on that front, let's circle back to Cristobal and Hank, which they're trying to get, very interestingly enough, they're trying to get two rival gangs and groups to kind of work together. And it's like, oh, we got a special spot where we're going to discuss all this. The spot is Dave and Buster's. And I love the spinning camera as they're like walking around the table, because they're like going opposite directions of each other, crossing paths, and they bounce between each other. Because it's like, Cristobal is like, yeah, the fact of the matter is us and the Bolivians and the Chechens didn't get along. Which I should also really quickly, I love that it's like, hey, I'm working with some people. I won't tell you who they are, but all I say is they're not Russians, but you'll think they are. Are they Chechens? Yeah, they're Chechens. And I was like, I love that. But the fact is, I also love that scene, but the Dave and Buster stuff is when at one point it goes back to Cristobal, but you see Hank running so that he can meet up the Cristobal where he's supposed to be. So it's like, oh, let me get back over here and ready. And Cristobal's done. I'm gonna walk past him and start my side of the conversation. I thought that was such a neat bit. But nevertheless. They're going there back and forth about like, yeah, we were able to compensate for each other. Like we were so caught up in our blood feuds, we didn't recognize, hey, we suck at some stuff that they excel at, and there's some stuff that they suck at, we excel at. So like, it's a beautiful partnership. So we're doing the same thing. One of the dudes who's like the muscle guy, like his group is supposed to be the muscle of the operation, the sand operation. It's going to be, I know him from like Good Girls. He's one of He's Rio's right-hand guy from Good Girls. But either way, I also love that they took time to go have fun. But like I figured from last episode, his main motivation for agreeing to this whole sand operation was Hank was going to use it to try and help out Barry. In fact, he was actually going to break Barry out of prison. But and I love that they're putting on their speech and everything about like, you know, it's like, and you see everyone like somebody has like a giant Pikachu like plushie or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, like we could go legitimate. We won't have to work in the shadows anymore. We'll have like regular 9-to-5s. You guys will actually be wearing suits. But yeah, we'll have legitimate business and we won't have to like work behind the scenes by doing drugs. It's like, nah, we'll be importing like, you know, bringing in sand. And these house contractors and stuff like that will like pay us big money, you know, when they're trying to construct these houses with this sand. So... But then it's like, yeah, before we get to that, we need to break my boy Barry out of prison, which Cristobal's like, what are you saying? It's like, no, we got to break Barry out. No, why are you saying that now? And it's like, and later on, Cristobal's like, yo, Barry doesn't care about you. I want you to know first and foremost, I love you. I can't stress that enough. I love you. Lead with love and then explain. Barry doesn't care about you. He never did. And that's the sad thing. For Hank, it was always a one-way street. And like, obviously, like, Hank has always had his scary side because Cristobal's like, yeah, your sentimentality when it comes to Barry plays into what people think. People think that you're not hard enough when you need to be, that you are too soft. And it's like, yes, Hank can be, but we've also seen Hank can be scary when he wants to be. Like when he ended up saving him and Cristobal from their situation last season. He's also had those instances with Barry when Barry was kind of like not vibing with Hank. Hank made it pretty clear, like, don't screw with me, Barry. This is who I am. That he can be dangerous and deadly when he needs to be. So there's that whole element of it, but it's like, and for him, it's like, I finally understand Barry. And in that moment, Cristobal's like, wait, what does that even mean? And I guess it's that dream of his. I am curious in what capacity does he feel like he finally understands Barry? I guess it's like the situations you go through and how they change you, and you might not always recognize yourself on the other side of things. Like maybe I'm completely reading that wrong. But then he gets word from Fuchs because Fuchs always has to fuck something up. He's upset because he's thinking like, oh, Barry's ratting me out. When he said everything, he probably wasn't really fully thinking about the Bolivian stuff. But, you know, which I also love when Barry was talking to the cop. The cop was like, yeah, because one was like, we don't care about Fuchs. And the other guy was like, is Fuchs still mad at me? I'm like, what was that line of dialogue? I love it. But yeah, the moment... because Fuchs was just venting and like, oh yeah, I was vulnerable with the kid. I showed him how I really felt, and I was trying to do right by him, and he fucked me. And in that moment, it's like, cool, no more saving Barry. Hank is like, Cristobal, we need to kill Barry. It's like, did a real fast 180 in that regard. All of this was about saving Barry. Now it's got to be about killing Barry because he's about to sell us out, which is sad because Barry doesn't know that Hank was going to bust him out. But it's also like that wouldn't have been conducive with what Barry wanted because Barry wanted a fresh start with Sally, but she doesn't necessarily want. It's just, this situation, this whole season is going to be super fucked, dude, and I can't wait. Holy crap. How this all plays out, I have no idea. I don't know what to fully expect from this season because I didn't watch the trailer. I didn't want to. I wanted to kind of go into the season knowing as little as possible. So I've actually never seen a trailer for Barry at all. I don't think because I was still catching up with the show by the time season 3 was airing, so I didn't never saw even the season 3 trailer. So, but I'm so excited to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.